Too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Shelly, you ready?
Yep.
I'm going to roll a little intro, nothing
Okay.
fancy, just so people know what we're doing here. So, roll another episode of the podcast. Got a guest in front of me today, Shelly, we have a mutual friend, your sister, Amy, right,
Yes.
who thought it'd be a good idea for us to get together and for me to try to convince you to move to Florida. That's why I put the Florida flag up for you. So, no, I'm joking. That's
no.
always up there. But what is your current state of Florida? All right, you've been here now for what? You came yesterday?
1 day.
But you've been here before.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So tell me, like, you've traveled here before, you've stayed here for a little bit, or kind of give me your understanding of Florida, if you will.
So, I've been to Daytona Beach quite a few times with my kids when they were younger because their grandparents had a house in Daytona Beach. So we traveled frequently there. We, up until a few weeks ago, were DVC members. So
DVC.
We owned the DVC timeshare at Disney.
Okay.
So we used to go.
Disney Vacation Club. Got it.
So now that they're older, we sold it. We were Disney junkies when they were younger. 2, 3, 4 trips a year.
I'm from Orlando, so a lot of times when people hear that, they're like, "Oh, Disney!" I'm like, yes, Disney is in Orlando. Would you believe it? I have 2 kids. My son, you met Blake, he's 11, and my daughter's 9, and I have never been to Disney with them. Yeah, people from Orlando kind of stay away from that area. As you could imagine, a lot more traffic comes through there. The west side of Orlando is a little bit different than where I grew up on the east side, but we've done all the other theme parks, but Disney, they've been to there once, but I didn't go. It's like one of those standing in line on the surface of the sun type things with all those people. Yeah. I avoid Disney a little bit, but
it's a little overwhelming now without little kids. So
do you still go? Do you still travel over to there?
We went for one last hurrah trip. Two spring breaks ago. So not this spring break, 2 before, because my oldest was in college. The oldest was the middle one was a senior. We had an exchange student from Spain with us, and my son, my youngest. So we did one last hurrah. We went there for a week, and then we went to we went on a cruise for the second week of spring break.
Nice. Disney cruise? Or?
No. It was a Royal Caribbean. And so and we.
Nice. That's another one that doesn't. Everyone's like, you got to try a cruise. I've never been on a cruise. I think it's like seems like a big moving mall of people to me. And I just kind of, when I travel, I like to, and we'll get into some travel stuff. I like to be able to pick up and do what I want to do. But I think some of the excursions could be fun.
Yes,
the boat does look pretty cool. My kids sometimes are like, maybe a cruise, but I don't know. We haven't pulled that trigger yet. So one of the real reasons why we wanted to talk, or why Amy thought this would be a good idea, was to discuss surfing too. Yeah. So how long have you been surfing? And you're from Ohio, right?
Yeah.
So you probably get this a lot, is how do you start surfing when you're from Ohio?
Yeah, I think my 3 sons and I might be like one of the handfuls of surfers that live in Ohio.
I can believe that.
So it started off, we were taking yearly or biannually trips to Puerto Rico. That Puerto Rico has my heart. Got a tattoo,
Nice.
Like Puerto Rico is my love.
Nice.
So I had brought the boys. We had gone on a cruise because they love cruising. We started with Royal Caribbean when they were real little, and their dad had to go back to work, and my sons get 2 weeks in their school. 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of March every year.
Nice.
Vacation,
like spring break
yes,
type. Okay.
Regardless of when Easter is, it was always the last 2 weeks of March.
Oh, nice.
So one of those weeks we went on a cruise, and then the second week I took them. I was like, we had some free, like we had Marriott points. So I started looking. I'm like, where can we go? Whatever. So there was in Deerfield Beach.
Yeah.
There was what is it, like a Residence Inn or something in Deerfield. So I was like, guys, let's go here. We have enough points. Let's go. It's free, rented a car, drove up there, the boys and I.
Heck yeah.
There was Island Water Sports.
Okay.
Big surf shop.
Yeah.
We went shopping in there, and there was a big sign that said surf camp. My kids were like, I want to do this. I want to do this.
Nice.
There were 3, 6, and 9 at the time. I was like, okay. Yeah. Why not? So I put them in this surf camp. They became hooked.
Wow.
After like an hour in the water, they're like, oh my God, we love this. So I was like, well, if you guys are going to do it, I'm going to learn to do it. So I hired myself my own like teacher. I wasn't going to go into a kids camp, you know?
Sure.
So I hired myself and I was hooked.
Nice. So same area? You're in Deerfield Beach?
This was in Deerfield Beach. So when they went to this camp, I hired my own coach.
Nice.
So they're off on, I think they were on the north side of the pier.
Okay.
And I went on the south side with my own coach or something, whatever.
Okay.
And I'm just a private lesson because we're all very athletic.
Nice.
So it was easy to pick up. By no means is surfing easy, but
sure.
We got the fundamentals, and I was like,
if you got a good teacher, that helps, right?
Yeah. And they had fun. They loved it, and we already had plans to go at Christmas for a few weeks to Puerto Rico, and I changed it. I was like, let me see if they're surfing in Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know anything because we weren't surfers.
Right.
So I looked and I was like, okay, guys, instead of going to we would go outside of San Juan to the east part.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, there's a big surf town.
Oh yeah.
In Surf City, Rincon.
Yeah.
So the rest is history.
Nice.
We went there, we hired an amazing coach, Whit Arnold.
Nice. In Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And we were hooked.
Nice.
Yes.
Puerto Rico, I always heard as the Hawaii of the Caribbean.
It is.
That's how it was described to me. I've been there a few times too. Maria's, Rincon, Surf City. Yeah. It's hard to find a left-hand wave there, and I'm a goofy footer.
Yes.
There's a round, but I got much better at right-handed waves by going to Puerto Rico.
Antonios and parking lots are we call those our home base because we, stayed in a place right in front of it.
Very
and
cool.
That was just walk out. And we surfed that. 90% of my time in the water was at parking lots in Antonio.
Very cool. How old were your kids when you took them there the first time? Roughly.
3.5.
Okay.
It was literally that summer or that. So it was spring break, which is in March.
Right.
And they did this camp. And then I brought them back that summer to Deerfield Beach. We rented a house right there and we were surfing, but there really wasn't a whole lot of surfing. But it was fine because we were all on foam boards.
Yeah, okay.
We were just,
just chilling out there cruising.
We didn't know. I mean, we'd only had a few lessons and stuff. And so then after that summer, we came back to Puerto Rico for our normal 2-3 weeks of Christmas break. And so we started at parking lots in Antonio's, and we were all on foam boards, and we all of our lessons had been with Rincon Surf School.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool.
Yes.
I want to get my kids down there. We just took their first plane rides actually recently. So, and I've been waiting for my son Blake to get a little bit more. He's very comfortable in bigger surf. He's getting there, learning duck dives and those kind of things. So he's about ready to either go out to California or to go out to Puerto Rico.
I would highly recommend Puerto Rico over California any day.
I like them both, but they each have different atmospheres. Puerto Rico is cool. I love the food down there. The vibes are amazing. I'm hooked on mofongo. You ever had mofongo? Oh my God.
How could I not?
Exactly. With as much time as you spend in Puerto Rico. But yes, I love good mofongo.
Mapatiao.
Okay. Yeah. And then so you were on foam boards. What are you riding now? What do you guys what'd you gravitate
Everybody
towards?
has their own, but my favorite, my baby, I've named all my boards. My favorite blue coconut is a 6.0 Hayden Shapes.
Okay.
So that's nice. My baby. Yeah.
You ride it as a tri-fin with 3 fins in the back? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's got the
quad
multiple.
Box.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Hayden makes I went to one of their shops out in California when I was out there in January. They got a lot of cool surfboards. Yeah. So you're riding a 6.0. Okay. And your kids, what are they like? What do they get into?
We've each got several boards, but my oldest has a Town and Country that we bought when we were surfing in Hawaii, and he bought it used and brought it back to Ohio, and then eventually took it to Puerto Rico.
Nice.
But I don't know. I think it's maybe like a 6'2".
Okay.
He's also 5'11".
Got
it. And then that's his favorite, but he's also got I believe it's like a 5'10" Lost Slug. That's what he calls it. His Slug.
Nice.
And then they're all Lost fans.
Okay.
They're all they are diehard Lost fans. So then my
Brand's been around a while.
that's Mikey. And then he's the one, he's going to be 23, just graduated from college
Nice.
and took a job in D.C. so that he could do weekend trips to surf.
Yeah, very cool. There's some spots out there
yeah.
you can get to. Jersey's got spots. Virginia Beach has
Virginia
spots.
Beach,
Yeah,
he can do, and he works kind of remote hybrid, so he can do some long weekends to the Outer Banks and stuff.
Yeah, I've been out there once. There was no waves, and we went in the summertime, which was tough. Yeah, but that's the one problem with the East Coast is we get periods where there's very minimal swell unless you know where to go, what you're looking for. What is your perception of Florida waves? So you've surfed in Deerfield. Like if you were to describe Florida waves, how would you describe them? Mush. Okay. Yes.
They're not like Puerto Rico. Like I said, when I had been, and I had surfed New Smyrna 2 Octobers ago.
Nice.
I went to New Smyrna, and I love New Smyrna.
Yeah.
Love it.
Such a cool town.
But it was mush.
Yeah, it can be very mushy at times. That's where the right board comes in. But we get periods of good waves too that people don't always consider. You know, the winter is our best time from a consistency of more stronger waves. There's like a shelf out there, like I think it's continental shelf. I'm not exactly sure. So it blocks some of the swell from getting to Florida. So it has to be like either coming from the right direction or hurricane season is really good for us. You're about a week late we had 4 or 5 days of solid, like powerful overhead waves from Hurricane Ernesto. It did the perfect thing you would want a hurricane to do, which is come sit out the coast, never touches land, and then just kind of hug the coast and just send waves in for us for days. That's sort of what we wait for is hurricane season and winter time sort of around here.
But surf is subjective because what's good for one person is not like, I don't like big waves. My kids love big waves. They're all like just adrenaline junkies.
Okay.
My perfect is like 3 foot and glassy.
You're speaking my language. I have when I was younger, for sure, chasing big waves, what's the biggest we can get out to? But what people never really consider is getting out. I always say the hardest part of surfing is not standing up and catching the wave. It's getting and staying in the right spot, right? The amount of energy it takes, especially on bigger days, and how comfortable are you for being held under for X number of seconds, right? So I always try to tell people the hardest part is really paddling. I find to be the most
90%
consistently, 100%. Yeah. So down in Puerto Rico, I was always fearful of the urchins, stepping on them. Never had any issues with them down there?
Oh no, I've had, but that's not my fear. Like
what's your fear?
we spend every evening picking the urchins out of each other's
okay,
feet.
so it's not that bad?
No, I mean it is, but you get used to it. That's not my fear. My fear is getting held under and getting back to the channel. Yeah. And then my longtime surf coach, Whit, had, he's like, you just don't go left. No. He goes, because you're paying for it, trying to get back out. Yeah. And then also, there's a channel on the right. So just, you might take the wave, and even if you don't get to the channel, you paddle horizontally, parallel to the shore to get over to the channel to make your paddle out so much easier. Yeah.
That's some good local knowledge of that spot, because I would be taking the lefts. I would be and then paying the price for it.
And it depends on the day. If it's a small day, who cares? Right. And it depends on your strength. Like, I can't duck dive that Hayden. Okay. I mean, I can skim under, but I'm only 115 pounds. Right. And that board is, I believe, 32 or 33 liters. Probably, yeah. So I can't get it. I'm not strong enough to get it deep enough. So
what do you do? Do you ditch it in certain environments? Or?
It depends. Right. Yes, I will ditch it or turtle roll, turtle it. Or you just skim. I can skim under enough. I can get it, a foot under,
which is all you really need. That's all.
If it's not big.
Sure.
Which is why I don't do big waves.
Yeah. The biggest I've been recently was in I went out to California for the first time, flew into San Diego. I had a work thing for 3 days, but I went out 2 days early. So I surfed for 3 days and then worked for 3, sat in meetings basically. But the swell was opposite. It was like maybe waist high when I got there. Next day it was like shoulder high, and then by the last day it's overhead. So I'm surfing twice a day for 3 straight days, and then the final day it's overhead. But I took off one there at the Oceanside Pier. It was a beautiful left, and then got held under for a little bit more than I was ready for after being exhausted for a few days. So yeah, I'm with you. I kind of avoid the bigger days, like when Ernesto came through, and it was 8 foot. I was like, no, I'm skipping it. I'm like a 3 to 6 kind of. Yeah. That's about perfect.
My fear too is, this sounds weird coming from a surfer, I have a fear of heights.
Okay.
So when I'm on a big wave, it's not the fact that I can't ride it, or especially if there's a channel, I can get back out. Yeah. When I'm at the top and going, and I look down, I'm like, and I freak out, and I'm like,
of
and
the
I
drop in.
Yes, and I'll just throw myself off because
Did you ever do any skateboarding?
No. And I don't ski either.
Okay, yeah. Snow skiing or snowboarding. No, water skiing for sure. But I always relate it to like dropping in on a ramp, and if you are, and if it is a 6 foot day or plus day, if you're standing on top of like a 6 foot skateboard ramp, to drop down into that, if you're not ready for it, the good thing about the ocean is it's water, less likely to be
hurt
injured
yourself.
than skateboarding. Yes. The other thing of Florida is like, with these long periods, swells of where it's nothing, where we're really tide specific, where in a lot of places you can find a high tide spot. Obviously there's low tide spots, but what I found here over the years, and I've been surfing here since I was 4 probably, and my kids, so I'm 25 plus years into this, but I'm probably getting closer to 30 years into this now, and my kids have both been surfing since they were really young. But what I've found is low tide is your favorite, is the best, because all of our sandbars, we don't have reefs. You can kind of, if there's a lot of swell in the water, high tide brings, you can bring some waves in during hurricane season or in the winter too, but mostly you're trying to catch either a changing tide or dead low tide. Then if you can get an incoming tide, it's even better, because that's bringing in some stuff, obviously as it's pushing in. So it's kind of tide specific. And then our winds are weird here too, where you get them coming out of the west into the face of the waves for only like 2 hours in the mornings, and then it switches, and then it's knocking them down for the rest of the day. So if we make it out this afternoon, it's going to be very windy and just knocking them down, and it might be a little mushy. But that's where I started getting into like thicker twin fins. I pretty much only ride twin fins now for the last 5 or 6 years, just because of our types of waves and kind of get you into different positions. And it's a lot of fun too. The thing with thrusters, I always felt like I had to do turns like professionals, to where I started having more fun as I got older and switched over to twin fins. But you ever tried them?
I'm going to this afternoon.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. That's what what was Gina's husband's name?
I've never met him.
He's
Nick, maybe?
Yeah.
Nick or Rick, something like that?
Nick, yeah. So
sorry, Gina's husband.
Yeah, right. I'm like, so he, I went over and saw their quiver yesterday and was able to find, that's why Amy had texted about getting the
center fin.
Or the trailers on there. Right. Because it only has a twin fin. I believe it's a 6'4", but it's got a lot of volume.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it's a twin. So it's like, you'll have a lot of fun. It's really loose. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. What?
Nice. Yeah.
If my philosophy is any time in the water is better than, Cleveland, I'm not in the water.
Right.
So it's warm water. Yeah. It's salt water. I will take it.
Nice.
Even if I just float around out there and look, it's sunny. Why not?
I say that regularly. A bad day at the beach beats bad day anywhere else, or a good day in some cases elsewhere.
Exactly.
But that was the hard part about, I did think about like competing and doing some of those things when I was younger, but it just seemed to take the fun out of it. Like you have to get a certain score, you got to catch a certain number of waves, and I'd sit back and look and be like, I'm out here surfing. Like, I just want to have fun with it, So I lost that early. When I was real young, I was like, I'm going to be a professional and this is what I'm going to do. And no. Especially growing up here, Kelly grew up over here, and obviously there's a lot of good professionals that came out of the East Coast. Oddly enough, our first trip we took was to Cleveland. We just got back. Yes, it was this summer. Our summer trip this year was to Cleveland
for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Cedar Point.
People ask us why Cleveland, right? Not our normal travel destination, but Cedar Point was the one. So Blake loves roller coasters, big. We've ridden all the ones in Florida, Busch Gardens, Universal, and he'd been eyeballing Cedar Point for a while. So like, all right, let's go to Cleveland, and we wanted to check out the Great Lakes. So we stayed right there in downtown. We walked to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yep, downtown Cleveland. Yep, which was amazing. Good food, lots of cool people down there. We had a great time. But we went to search for a wave in Lake Erie. Have you ever surfed in Lake Erie? Or
so years ago in one of my yoga classes, my yoga teacher was like, "Hey, Shelly," she's like, "I know you're a surfer, you know." She's like, "We have the guy who I think was like the, I don't know, president or something like the founder of the Great Lakes Surf Club or something." She's like, "I'll introduce you to him." And I was just like, okay, great, but I have no interest in, no.
Okay, so no, you never surfed the Great Lakes? Never?
Well, this Hayden board that I told you about, my favorite, I had ordered it during COVID. And took 14 weeks to get. I had a custom and ordered it. It came from Australia.
Oh, dang,
so it took forever. It took, I don't know, like 8 weeks to get. And I was so excited to ride it. And I had it shipped to Cleveland, not Puerto Rico.
Right.
So I was like, so I took it out into the Great Lakes one day, and this was like in the summer of 2020.
Okay.
Or like August or something. I was like, okay, I'm so excited just to take this board down, got new fin, track pad, everything, nice. Jones. And I go out there, and I'm like sinking. I'm like, what is going on here? Then I realized this is fresh water.
And less buoyant.
There's and I'm like, and I was literally just paddling it around. There was no wave. It was glass. I just wanted to be in the water with it.
Yeah,
but no, I have, no.
Since I was a kid, Endless Summer 2, did you ever watch that one?
Yeah.
There's a point, they're in, I think, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and they're surfing in whichever lake that is over there on that side. So there's a crew of surfers in that, and I'm like, man, surfing in a freshwater body would be interesting. So I've thought about it since I was a kid, and then we didn't bring any boards. I almost brought boards with me because there's spots on the lake that you can track the swell.
Yes.
Edgewater, we went there. Edgewater, and then
I think Geneva.
I forget the other name.
You can go to Erie, which is right over the border in Pennsylvania. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah. But I didn't know that Surfline actually tracks spots there from a swell. And there was something coming in. There was a lot of wind, and there was a day it was calling for like 3 to 4 foot on Lake Erie when we were going to be up there. So I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, we'll find a surf shop. I'll find there isn't any. So next time we're bringing boards, because we went down to was the first one you said? Edgewater.
Yeah, that's in Cleveland. Yeah.
We climbed down this like sort of like rock shelf because the wave was around this point, and there was a 4-foot barreling freshwater wave.
Was there any surfer? Were there any?
Not a single person. No. I'll show you a photo on my phone here when we get done, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, for the life of me, I was not expecting to find that. Obviously, it was really choppy, and you would be working out there just to be in the right spot. But I could not believe that we found a barreling freshwater wave.
Luck.
On that lake. Luck. Okay, that's what I thought, because I've watched it on Surfline probably a few more times since then to see like, and there hasn't been much, but it was crazy the amount of wind. And then what we did was we went down to where some of the public beaches were. Yeah. And we just like, let's just go body surf it. Yeah. And we get down to the beach and we step 1 foot in, and lifeguards all come running down. And they're like, hey, the beaches are closed due to high surf. So I was there, and the beaches were actually closed because the waves were too big.
So we live, and I raised my sons in Bay Village, which has Huntington Beach. It's like well known, like it's a public beach, but it's like the metro parks, and it's stunningly gorgeous.
Nice.
That was 5 minutes from home. That's where we rode bikes and walked to whatever. But that's is where I took this board out. Yeah. But they won't let you in if it's like that. Yeah.
And I get it, because where we were, there was like all these, they build these like rock shelves, it seems like, to knock down the wind from pushing up and the waves from pushing up. Like jetties. Yes. But it made like a natural rip current. Mm-hmm. So I get it. If you don't know what you're doing, or you're not the strongest swimmer, I could see the lifeguards not wanting to have to save people, because it looked just like a rip current, pulling things in and out, and you wouldn't want to get pulled out into the shipping lane of Lake Erie.
Unfortunately, there's quite a few people who have lost their lives.
Oh, yeah.
The Lake Erie, coincidentally, is the shallowest, which also makes it the most deadliest of all the Great Lakes, because it just takes a little shift in wind out of the north is what makes it deadly. And south winds make Lake Erie glassy. North winds make it deadly. And just a little bit of shift, and you don't need much wind because it's so shallow, and it becomes like...
Yeah. I could see that. When we were there on the north side, I guess that's on the Canada side, 2 kids died. Literally the days we were up there. And I'm like, you know, obviously. But we ended up finding a spot where there were no lifeguards because I had to
get in.
And we could, I legitimately we could body surf them because we didn't have boards. Like, you know, 50 feet, you know, maybe 100 feet we were getting. And it still blew my mind growing up here in Florida, being in a freshwater lake that had waves in it. Because that's the things I always dreamed about. Yeah. Seriously, like I would dream about, because I grew up in all the lakes around here, and be like, man, imagine if there was a machine that made a wave that would just push it through. And now, have you seen any of the wave pool technology?
It's the wave pool. It's there.
Oh, man. Have you been in any wave pools? Me neither. Yeah. I would want to go check them out for sure. The Waco one looks pretty cool, Texas. But that technology was exactly what we were dreaming of as children. Like, imagine if you had this machine that just made unlimited waves for you and your friends.
I honestly have no desire to go to one.
Not even to try?
No, because so much of surfing, the enjoyment I get out of it is being out in the sun.
I agree.
Sitting around on the board with some good vibes, good people out and looking in Puerto Rico. I mean, we see the turtles go by. I see the coral below me. And it's like,
I agree. A big part of it is being out there in nature, one with the elements, if you will. And I think that's the fun. There's a little bit of an argument. Did you watch the Olympics surfing?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so beautiful.
Oh, so beautiful.
So beautiful.
Very cool. Yes. But the argument is should the Olympics be in a wave pool or should it be in the ocean?
No.
100% the ocean. Yeah.
Because so much of knowing how to surf is learning how to read a wave.
Yes.
Changing and it's constantly changing. And these surfers are so educated.
Yes.
And so much what makes them good surfers and the best, you can argue, are the Olympians, the best out there, is because they can change.
Yes.
They can adapt to the changing conditions every day, every hour.
But to us, that's part of the fun, right? To people, and in the enjoyment.
And what makes them a good surfer?
I agree, is your ability to read the spot. You know, back to what we were talking about, being in the right spot at the right time. Take the first wave of the set, take the last wave of the set. Do I need to be out, in? We can enjoy that, but I also agree to people that have never surfed or never maybe even been in the ocean, that the argument for the artificial wave in the Olympics is it takes that environment away, and you really get to see maybe who is the best on that wave. I don't agree, but I understand that side of the argument where it takes that element away. I don't think they should, but I don't know. I can kind of see both sides, but I would much rather them be in the ocean somewhere, you know, especially when they come back to California. Like, what are they going to do? They're in California in 4 years, right? And are they going to do it in Kelly Slater's wave pool? Like, no, like get out in the ocean, find an actual wave that all of us would love to watch them battle.
I think wave pools have a purpose. I think they're great. Like, if they could be used to teach people to surf, I think it would be great. I could have learned to surf so much quicker.
Sure.
Had I learned the fundamentals, and you have the right conditions all the time. And then once you learn that, then you go out and learn the other stuff, how to read them, you know, out in nature.
Definitely.
And, also for the pros to practice.
Yes. Yeah, the air
they already
game.
know how to read waves. You know, they're pros. They know how to read. They know how to get in position, but they need to practice some aspect of it, you know.
But they can do it 20 times in a row because they have the same exact way to look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it definitely changed, like, the aerial maneuvers that the professionals can do now. You know, the rodeo flips and the just huge, like, 360s and stuff that they're doing now. And then some kids that just grow up in wave pools, like the stuff they can do in them, it's like skateboard tricks, like kick flips and shove-its and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy to see. So like you said, I think there's a place for it, but I think the purist side in competition just loves to see the ocean. I don't really, when they did the first one at the Surf Ranch, do you watch the Pro Tour also, or
yeah,
a little
here
bit?
And there? Yeah,
I didn't like the one at the Surf Ranch. It was too the same.
Yes.
Here comes a big long barrel section. Here comes an air section. It was cool to see what different surfers would do with it, but I prefer the ocean approach.
And being over there, it was like this Olympics. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. It was so gorgeous. The drone shots and just looking down and seeing the coral. That's me. I learned to surf in reef.
Yeah. Okay.
So now at a beach break, it's like,
Yeah. The only reefs I've ever really surfed are Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
There's a small reef down in South Florida where it gets a pretty good wave every now and then called Reef Road, but it's not like Puerto Rico reefs. Or you've been to Hawaii. I mean, I haven't been out there yet, but I'm sure there's the safety aspect of beach bottoms or sand bottoms. I like, especially with the kids. Not as fearful of cracking your head on a rock or anything like that.
Yeah.
Too. So there's the safety aspect of beach breaks. That's nice, and it spreads crowds out too.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Where's where'd you surf in Hawaii?
We went to, I'm like trying to think. It's in Haleiwa. When we went and took the boys, we were not good surfers. So we went out with the coach and it was like, it was just in a bay. Okay. It wasn't like we weren't like good surfers at the time. I'm trying to think what it was.
Were the waves good?
No, because there were good waves there, but we weren't at a level where we could surf that.
Got it.
We were just in like a little bay in the town up in the North Shore, and I can't even think what it was called, but it wasn't like good.
Okay.
Like now, and this was probably 9 years ago, maybe. So now we're all at a level where we could surf there.
Nice.
But this is what's funny is like we went out there for 2 weeks for spring break with the boys, just for a change of we had normally gone to Puerto Rico. Hey, let's go here. After that, about 10 days into the trip, I was like, guys, what do you think of what do you think of Hawaii? Over. They all said, all three of them, we prefer going to Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And their dad and I at the time were just like, oh my God, we spent so much money to come out here. Yes. And they would much rather. It's a shorter flight. Yes. It's quicker. And
probably less people too out there.
And they all said it. And I prefer Puerto Rico over Hawaii.
Okay. Yeah. That'll have to be where we go next, because we've been talking about that, where's our next surf trip? And I'd love to get them out to California though too. Have you surfed out there much, or?
Just a couple times. I did Huntington Beach for a couple days and was just, I'm not a wetsuit. I don't want to wear wetsuits.
Yeah.
And even I went once in July, and then I went down to San Diego with a girlfriend during COVID in October of 2020. I don't even know where I went. Just a friend of hers took me out in San Diego somewhere, but it's fine. It's just, I don't like the wetsuits. I don't like the cold water.
Sure.
Like, a snob.
The Pacific is different, for sure. That cold water is something to get used to. I went out just with like a 3 mil in the wintertime, and everyone out there was in 4 mils. So luckily I was all right. But the hard part was putting on a cold wetsuit from the night before. Oh. Like that was the worst. Like it's early in the morning. Like I hung this thing up. I only brought one. Now I know I got to bring 2 to be able to cycle through. But it gives you a little more float, which is kind of interesting too. But I had my twin fins out there, and I had my smaller twin fin, my 5.8 out there too, which was fun. I brought a 7.0 out there too, but I didn't even ride it. I regretted that I didn't take that board out. I took 3 boards with me on that work trip. But my son wants to go to Lowers, Trestles, which is obviously where they're about to run the final stage of the Pro Tour too. So maybe Puerto Rico first. That might be a good trip with them.
And it's a quick flight from here.
Oh my gosh.
Inexpensive too. Yeah. It's like you could literally do a strike trip.
Oh yeah,
strike mission for something's cheap. Coming in.
Yeah. I've been down there maybe 3 times surfing now. And in the Virgin Islands, I went out to St. Thomas and surfed there once. And then you've done some in South and Central America too, haven't you?
That's has my heart there.
Where at down there?
I've surfed several places. I did around Punta Mita in Mexico there.
Okay. That's a beach. That's a beach break, right?
Yeah, I did a boat trip. I did,
okay.
something out. But I've taken my boys to Nicaragua. I've taken them to Costa Rica, Panama several times. Yeah. So
I like it down there. I've been to Costa Rica once. Went down there. That's the only time down there. I'd love to go to Mexico, but Costa Rica was amazing. I rode this left-hand brake on a river mouth. The week before I got there, 2 Americans got eaten by saltwater crocs.
In Tamarindo?
Yes. Oh, no. Pavones.
Pavones.
Yes.
Oh, that's just over the border of Panama. Yeah, Pavones.
Yep. I was right there on the north end of Costa Rica.
No, that's in the south, the very south of Costa Rica.
Man,
that's Pavones. It's real far south in Costa Rica, just over the northern border of Panama.
Yes. This was like 5 years ago now. So but it was a left-hand brake at the tip of this river mouth, and the locals were so cool because I was paddling out in the and working so hard. And some guys were like, come down here. I'm like, okay. So I go down and just didn't even think about it. Just used the river to paddle out. And then didn't have to duck dive at all. But that's where the freaking Americans got eaten. And I never saw a single saltwater croc, which those ones scare me more than sharks. That would be the one that to be afraid of, in my opinion.
I've never surfed Pavones, but up in, I've taken my boys and surfed up in Tamarindo around the different breaks up there. Yeah. And to get from one to another, there was a little estuary there. And the first time we were with a coach, and I like to hire a coach to just give me the lay of the land. That's and everything. Awesome. Like I'm going out with you guys today. Give me a lay of the land. What it's worth its weight in gold. Nice. And I was like, oh, we could just walk. It's not that deep. He's like, no, we're going to take this boat across. And so there was a little boat there ferrying us across. You know, we could paddle across or walk across, but he's like, no, we're taking the boat.
Nice. Yes. I like that. I've heard you say that a few times, that you had a coach or you had a guide or somebody to show you around. I've never done that. I've gone and just tried to figure it out through the internet or looking at maps and stuff like that. It's worked out for me, but that's what I want to do next, is go either on like a designated, X number of days. They take you out to different spots, people that would know a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, you can obviously find waves almost anywhere you go. But Costa Rica was interesting because we stayed at this all-inclusive that was walking distance to this river mouth, and then there was a pier there. Yep. Okay. And then there was a pier there too, which had a fun little wave. But I remember I came out of the resort to walk down. It was maybe, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile, if not a full mile walk down to the river mouth. And the guard of the place comes running at me, like this heavy set guy running down the beach. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, like, you gotta be careful down there, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, what's gonna happen? And he's like, well, they may rob you. I'm like, of what?
Yeah, I've just got a surfboard.
I'm in my board shorts and a surfboard. If they really want my surfboard that bad, I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to get in a fight over my surfboard in a beach in Costa Rica. Not going to happen. But it was the complete opposite of what this guy was trying to tell me. Everyone was so cool. They were showing me the right places to paddle out. I have never had any issues with anybody out there in the ocean. And I thought it was odd that I had to sign a waiver that I was leaving the premises and I wasn't their responsibility, basically, if something happened to me while I was down off of their grounds, because the resort had, X number of feet of the beach, marked off. So I thought that was interesting that the local was trying to scare me out of going down there and trying that wave, but everybody was cool.
Good. I've never heard of that in Costa Rica. Yeah. I've heard of that in Mexico. Where is it? Where people go?
Escondido, or
and Baja, like
all those couple surfers that just got they found him in that well.
That's just
and apparently they wanted his truck tires.
Yes, that's what I read online.
Brutal.
I don't run into that. Like, I've never.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you've been all over. I mean, I think most people are pretty cool, in general. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, there's bad people everywhere. You could go into any city in America, and find certain individuals that, would.
There's places to stay away from. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to go venturing off just myself or with my sons in Mexico.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
I won't.
Yeah.
But
smart move. Yeah, smart move. Don't put yourself at risk, and acknowledge that there are people that would, see some Americans and want to take advantage of that. I get that too. But I think in most cases they it's probably bad for them when that press goes out, because they want people to travel there. They want the influential dollars coming and people to travel there. So I don't know. That's a tough government down there in Mexico, it seems like.
Yeah, there were some great places. We stayed, I've been several times to Miramar Surf Camp in Nicaragua. Love it. Fabulous place. Check it out. Great people. And it's there's 5 surf breaks right there, like right in front of this little resort.
That's legit. Yeah.
And it is, you can walk to 4 of them, and one of them is a boat trip. And they have a boat there and they take you out, but there's really nothing else around there. So everybody is just cool. You eat there. It's so chill. My kids loved it. It was just surf your brains out.
Nice.
And they have a skateboarding, like, I'm not a skateboarder, so they did, but what is it called? Like a
half pipe?
Yes. They have it there. And great place. But I would worry if I was out, and they had a guard there, like walking on the streets, but there's literally nothing to walk to.
Right.
So
yeah, I think, like you said, you gotta live too, and just trust that people are gonna be cool and and be aware of what could happen for sure. But do it safely. Nicaragua is one my grandfather used to go down there a lot. Some of my uncles too. But I'd love to go down there, check that out. I was surprised at how many Americans there were in Costa Rica. A lot of expats have moved there. I think Nicaragua is probably getting like that in some places too, where people are leaving wherever they're from to go, live a little bit, I guess, cheaper life. I guess money goes a little bit further down there.
Panama,
for a little while. I think that'll probably change at some point. What's on your bucket list of surfing? Do you have destinations that you would like to take?
I'm dying to get back. So I went to Indonesia, to Bali.
Oh, okay.
About, was that maybe, I think it was 18. And I hadn't researched it enough, and I wasn't that good of a surfer. Not that I'm saying I'm great now, but I'm at another level now that I was in 2018. And I want to go. And my son went this past summer.
Nice.
He went to Bali and did some surfing there.
Wow.
And he was in the Philippines, and my 3 sons were in the Philippines with their grandparents for 3 weeks. And so that is where my next, I really want to go to the Philippines and Indonesia, but I'm okay with skipping Bali. I want to go to Lombok and the Gili Islands and do some surfing over there.
Nice. That's a good destination. What would you do, a month down there?
It's because I was only there 2 weeks, and it was just Bali and Singapore for a couple of days just to see if there's obviously no surfing there. But
I think there's a wave pool there now.
No. I'm not a fan of those wave pools. But I want to go, and if I do go to Bali, it would be Western or outside of main Bali, where everybody surfs. But there's some spots, I guess, if you get out of the main tourist areas. But
a little sketchy.
No, it's just undeveloped.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Underdeveloped.
Yes.
It's not there's surfing, but it's like little villages and stuff.
Right.
So that's where I want to go.
That would be cool.
I don't like crowds. I don't like commercialized. I don't I'm okay eating the local food and some
that's part of travel though.
Yeah,
I think,
shack, I don't need all that.
One thing I really wanted to eat in Cleveland was walleye.
Oh yeah.
But
this isn't the season, I don't think.
I went to one restaurant that had it, but we had been at the theme park all day the day before. Yeah. We did Cedar Point, and then we did 3 different beaches on Lake Erie. Mm-hmm. So, and then the restaurant only had outdoor seating. So I missed out, and we didn't want to sit in the sun. It was let's go somewhere else. But that was the only time I was I wanted to eat some walleye. I was out there.
Or perch,
Perch, no,
those are the two. Yeah,
walleye or perch. I got to try some of that. But for me, I think Australia's up there. You got to wear a wetsuit, but I'd love to go out to Australia for a month. Would be amazing. I think Hawaii I'd like to check out, certain times of the year, see what that's about. Indo would be amazing. France looks pretty fun. There's some waves out there. What's the H? I don't know.
Hasselgor?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm saying that
right. I don't know how to say it either. I just know it starts with an H. Yeah. So France would be cool. Man, there's all kinds of places. Portugal, yeah. Any spot on the tour that we watch, my son's like when can we go there? Like, we got to get that on our list, which I'm excited for. As it sounds great to travel with your boys and obviously your family. And my daughter surfs too. She's 9 now. She's getting more comfortable each time, which is great. But to get both of them and travel around and just surf would be pretty good life. That sounds like a pretty sweet life.
Take advantage of it now, because now as I don't know if there are any more surf trips in our future together, because I have a senior, he's graduating, going off to college. I have one that's in college now. They're all Tulane, and then one that just graduated from Tulane in May and is now in DC. So you can't. You can't take off work.
Right. For now, seasons of life will come and go.
But I'm I'm trying to get like 3 of them together, like with their schedules. And a lot of these places that we want to go are not just 1 week.
Right. You got to go for a month. Yeah. It wouldn't be worth it to fly.
No.
To Indo for a week.
No, it's not. So I don't know. And these are, the memories are worth their weight in gold.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I treasure. I'm like thinking of things, and we had so much fun at just these different surf camps and different places, and
that's legit. I learned early that I used to spend too much of my time working and chasing money and flying all around trying to honestly chase money.
Yeah.
And a few guys used to tell me, people older than me that I like to talk with, they're like, you're gonna regret and miss the younger ages, So I learned quickly. I was like, I would rather be here. There's no amount of money that when I'm an old man someday, I don't want to sit back and be like, oh, I wish I was there more. I wish we did more things, together as a family, or took more trips. Like, no, there's not enough time to do everything you want to accomplish. But one thing I spend the most of my time thinking about is spending it with them, and just showing them things and learning about them. And I think that's I don't know, helps me stay young too.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, my 3 sons are all better surfers than me, hands down.
Nice. Yeah.
They have age on their side.
Yeah, true.
They learned as little kids. I learned as a grown adult.
Yeah, it is different. It is different, and that's I was fortunate to get exposed to it early, and then expose my children to it early, and I guess that is most things. You can learn stuff as an adult too.
But they're athletes, so they're all soccer players.
Okay.
So they're always in shape. And when I have to fly somewhere to go surf, it's like I said, I'm like, I haven't surfed since July. I'm I'm out of shape when we get in the water today. But they're playing soccer and training every day.
Running all the time.
It doesn't matter. They're in shape regardless if it's a different sport. They can just hop in the water and
you know what'll come back around, and some people don't like to think about this, so I don't want to offend you, is grandchildren. Eventually you'll be taking trips with all of them. Yes. And I was talking to this guy, Mike, the other day about that. It's like, I want to be a grandfather someday and get to do this aspect again, of teaching things downward. And obviously he'll be teaching, my daughter will be teaching him things, but there'll be different seasons of life where you guys will be all on trips again with new faces to teach those kind of things too.
One thing I've always looked at when I've been researching places to go surf and stuff is that myself or with my sons, we're all very adventurous as far as in water oriented. So it's not just when I look for some place to go, I don't want to just surf.
Right.
We love surfing. Don't get me wrong. And 2 sessions a day is great, but other things.
Yes.
And so that's what has always drawn me to Indonesia. There's other things to do.
Yeah.
We all have our dive. We're all dive certified.
Right.
So you can go. Cool. Yeah, you can go. We've dived. Yeah. I'm not really sure which.
Either
dived in places, so it's great in the diving, my kids have never been they went to the Philippines, but only my oldest stayed in Indonesia or stayed over there to continue his adventures this summer. But diving and snorkeling and having other things to do. Yes,
I think that's crucial. Because I like 2 sessions a day, morning, night, and then find other things to do locally. Or food's always a good one. I'll travel to places with good food, but diving has never appealed to me. It looks amazing, and I'm sure but something about I don't know, trusting that everything's going to go well,
Yeah.
And again, plenty of people dive all the time with no issues, but yeah, that one's never appealed to me. Snorkeling, free diving, that kind of stuff for sure, but strapping a tank on and going
Well, you're
way
trained,
deep,
and
yeah.
we've never gone without a guide.
Right.
Like a dive master.
Yeah.
So you're trained, and should something go wrong, there's a dive master there with another oxygen, but you're also trained. It's called an octopus. So each person has 2 mouthpieces. So if your buddy is in trouble, or one of my sons, I just give him mine. And you're trained how to swap underwater.
Okay.
So
That's pretty cool.
you go through quite a bit of training.
Yeah, fair point, as you should, to be
Yes.
prepared for whatever could happen. The one that always gets me, my palm sweating, is watching people like cave dive. Have you ever seen any of that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I'm
hell
like,
no.
no.
No. But people love that. There's a UFC fighter that told this story once. His name is Donald Cerrone, and he was down there and got all turned around in a cave, and then they were kicking dirt up. So like you have zero visibility, and you're in like a tight quarters. Hell no. But people are into it, and I get it, adventure seekers, that dopamine hit that Is it, as a mother, how does that make you feel?
I don't, and like we all went diving in Grand Cayman in one of the, I think the USS Kittiwake, one of some famous ship
that sunk out there.
Yeah, and I didn't even like that.
Oh. It'd be cool to see for sure, but I don't think I would like that.
I was okay being around it, but like going in,
that
and I'm like,
out.
No, but they loved it.
Nice.
Yeah. They're adrenaline junkies. But I don't. I went snorkeling. I was with a yoga group. I went in this past February on a yoga retreat to Mexico, to Tulum.
Nice.
And went snorkeling in the cenotes. Cenotes. These are these natural underground like water pools.
Okay.
And so we were snorkeling through them, and there was like light coming in, and the water was just gorgeous, but it was fresh water. And snorkeling, but some of them were like indoor caves, and like I was like
freaking you out a little bit.
And people were diving, but I'm like, I'm not gonna dive there. Snorkeling's just fine for me. You've
mentioned yoga a few times.
Yeah.
That's one that I had this lady on, and we got into all the different aspects of yoga, and she studied over in India for a really long time. She was interesting to talk to, but that one, I've done it once, like a dedicated yoga class, right? But that seems like something, as I keep getting older, that I want to implement. Yeah, whether it's just stretching for mobility, starting there, but there's something to yoga that appeals to me, but I can't seem to find the motivation to stay committed to it.
Find another surfer. Like, you have surfers around here, so
someone to do it with.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, I could see having a buddy to go with, or somebody to go with that's into it also. Challenge yourself a little bit. Somebody to push you to.
Because this is a surf town here in Cocoa Beach, that there are surf geared yoga classes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes. Because I've found that in like when I've gone to like surf places, like that they'll have like a surfing dedicated yoga class that's geared. The moves are a little bit different. I
could see that. Yeah. And I think it does benefit stuff like surfing or a lot of what we talk about on here a lot is, longevity, trying to stay as healthy for as long as you can. And that's one that surfing has always appealed to me because I've been out here plenty of times, and there's dudes in their 70s, 75, trimming down on a longboard.
I see them,
exactly.
Friends,
There's not a lot of sports that, you can hold up to and do for as long as some people have. And like what people don't give them credit for is like, that may be a 70, 75-year-old person that's going from charging, but they're going from their stomach to their feet like that. Yeah. There's so many people in that age.
There's 75-year-old surfers in Rincon that are better than me. And I'm like,
I think there's something to moving. You know, I think we sit so much, and they say sitting is the new smoking. You know, where it's kind of killing us as much as we sit at computers and in your car and at home and all those things. So I always try to find stuff that keeps me moving, and then put the kids into that too, because especially if they like it, it helps.
If you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like exercise or work or anything. That's like, I would much rather surf every day and surf a crappy wave or just float around out there and pop up and practice duck diving and everything else than going to a workout class. Yeah.
I like to get a mix of both, do some gym time. I train a little bit too, so we do some martial arts and stuff. So anything that gets you moving, but I like stuff that I can only think about that thing. And surfing is like that for sure. Sometimes on easier days, you could be out there and maybe something comes into your mind. But for the most part, you're thinking about the ocean. You're thinking about the waves that are coming in, or am I in the right position? And then if it's a heavier day, you're really only thinking about that thing. 100%. Yes. You can't be out there daydreaming.
No, you cannot.
And the no cell phone. I love long breaks from technology in general, but definitely cell phones. And surfing has always been that fantastic thing. It's not anywhere around you.
Well, now you've got people out in the lineups taking calls on their watches, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I was just telling somebody that the other day. I was out there and some dude's on a call. For real, man. Like, go in, go in and take that call. It can be that important. But I don't know. There's pros and cons to technology, but I don't know. I think more con side, if you ask me. We're getting away from a lot of different things that I think made us be humans, then again, some technology is good for us. There's things that have advanced us further, but I don't know, people spending way too much time on them these days.
Totally agree.
Yeah. But martial arts are like that too, things that you can really only focus on that. If I'm in there daydreaming, somebody's going to kick me in the head or strangle me, depending on what we're doing that day. But yeah, I've always been, things that draw my attention are ones that I can focus on that soul thing. Yeah. But yoga seems to help with that too, because you're kind of in there in the zone, and just like, all the breathing was nice. The one class I did take, what I took from it was like, man, like breathing this much is nice too, getting that much oxygen coming in.
There's some really nice ones, and I'm not like a huge like yoga person. I don't. But there's like these sound baths you do.
Yeah.
Amy was talking about going to one.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. It sounds cool.
Yes, it is. And then there's a certain type that I can't even remember the name of it, but I love it because you do it in like a darkened room and you hold the poses for a really long time.
Oh, cool.
And it stretches out like the fibers. And like I said, someone who knows more will know the technical words for this stuff, but it feels so good afterwards. Yeah.
What about like hot yoga? You ever tried any of that? Or
I don't like. No.
Yeah. No. Have you ever been in a sauna? How about saunas?
Oh yeah, saunas. Okay. That's okay. Yeah, and I really do like to be warm.
Yeah.
But I don't. To like where it's like I've done hot yoga once, and that was enough for me. I'm like I don't like dripping into my face and eyes and like stuff like that. Like, no. That
was something I had to get over with jiu-jitsu, which is, two men, sweaty men, wrestling each other as other people's sweat dripping on you. You get really comfortable really fast in some martial arts. But I put a sauna in the house like probably been 4 or 5 years ago now. I've been pretty religious. Do you use
it a lot?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. 5 days a week.
Is it a hot one? I know some are like steam ones and some are like...
This is a traditional sauna, so it's like regular heater with rocks, and you put water on. But yeah, I'm doing like 10 minutes at like 200 to 220, like a few days a week, which is amazing. It's like a cheating cardio workout because I got a little room in there so I can, shadow box or stretch some too, which is nice. But you're really sitting still and your heart's beating like you're running. So it helps with surfing too. You get an extra cardio boost, and then sweating stuff out feels nice as well. And then always post workout is nice. That's what they say, get in there after you lift or run or whatever. But yeah, I love sauna. Yeah, I'm like addicted to it now.
So is it steam as well or no?
Nope. Yeah, you can get steam by adding water to the rocks.
That's
I got a bucket in there. Yep. Which changes. My kids like to get in it a little bit too. I don't let them get in that hot. They're like 180, 185. But like 10, 15 minutes at 220, you come out of there like like hallucinating sometimes too, especially after like if I ran 5 miles or something.
Or surfed or something, you're like already like tired, exhausted.
Yeah. I was already thinking about it after today because we rode 4-wheelers all day yesterday. My mother just retired, so we had a retirement party for her yesterday, and we all 4-wheelers and side by sides. We were out in the woods all day yesterday, so I'm like, I can't wait to sauna this afternoon. I've been dreaming about it. But I got an ice bath too, so right next to it. So I like to get the mix, a little hot and cold treatment.
I've never done the ice bath, but like I know, like in some of the surf places I've been, like they have them, but I'm always freezing, so I can't even imagine going into it because I'm like cold sitting here right now. My feet are cold, my hands are like cold. I'm like,
there's something to doing things for me that I don't want to do. Like I look at that thing, I'm like, I don't need to get in here today. Like I could go do something else. There's something to forcing yourself to do it. And then the best, honestly, that I tell people is, and there's obviously all kinds of science and data behind what's good for you. And I've had a couple people in here that own like physical therapy treatment centers and sports medicine recovery stuff. They're big on ice baths and things, but I've been on them. I started by just using a bathtub and adding ice, right? Traditional type, to see if I liked it. Then I did a chest freezer, which people take those, convert those to ice baths, and then broke down 2 years ago and bought like an actual one that stays cold all the time, so you can get in it whenever you want. But I tell people the best is when you get out and how you warm back up naturally, because all your blood is rushing to all your organs when you're in there, and you can like almost feel this happening, especially when you're in like low 40s. Don't start there, start in the 50s or the 60s. But once you start getting out into like upper 30s, low 40s, like it's literally like you're probably gonna die, you know.
And how long can you stay?
So if I'm in like 50 degree, I'll do 6 minutes. If I'm in 40, I'll do 4. And if I'm in 30, I'll do 3. So the lower the temperature, the shorter obviously you're going to be in
obviously.
there. But right now I'm in like 42 to 44 for 4.5 minutes. And then you feel all the blood come into your hearts and your organs. Then when you get out, when it flushes all back out, that's the best feeling for me, is letting yourself, sort of heat back up naturally. Pretty cool. I would recommend trying it.
If I was in a hot area, I think I would. But like being in Cleveland, I'm cold
in the
all
winter
the time. Maybe one of these times when I'm at one of these surf camps or these warmer places. I know like one of the surf camps I really liked in Panama, they had one.
It's pretty cool. I tell people to try it, give it a shot. And then the interesting data that's coming out on like the dopamine release and the stuff it's doing for your brain. I truly, before I even knew any of that, I'm like, you're happier throughout the day is
what
how
about
I would describe it.
From the focus aspect?
I don't think I noticed any like tangible like increase amount of focus or anything like that, but maybe. I mean,
that's
there's
what
probably
I would like,
some
something
data
that
behind it. Some more.
I could see it getting you when you're sitting there and you have to take your mind to another level. It's actually like mentally challenging to 100%. Take yourself out of it. Because
your mind is like, just stand up and get out of here. And you're basically like telling your mind to like shut the fuck up. Like I'm in control here. I'm gonna sit in here for 3 minutes and then I'm getting out. But like the fight or flight response really does come like quickly, or it tries to tell you to not ever even get in there. Like as the older I get, I'm like, you're kind of in control of yourself to a degree, but sometimes you have to be like the boss and really tell yourself this is what you're doing at this given moment.
And I'm wondering if there's any science behind it to reversing the effects of your phone and social media. From a focus, the kids nowadays are so, they're just their reward system. They want instant gratification from everything. And 1 second of boredom, I find myself even watching a Netflix, I'm like, picking up my phone to scroll something in the minute. And I'm wondering, when you have to sit in that ice bath and just focus, and it's mentally challenging. And I could see that perhaps it would reverse some of the effects of the instant gratification and
I could see that.
Social media wanting, like, you have to take yourself to another level.
Mentally, for sure. Which
to be able to tolerate it.
I think it's a tough one with technology because, they grew up with it. It's been there since, I can remember, I'm 36, so I can remember not having a cell phone. I can remember even not really having the internet. We got it later. People had it around me, obviously, and they had cell phones before I did, but I kind of stayed away from them for a while. But kids now, like that's all they do in school. That's how they communicate. And there's a balance, right? If they're doing that all day, every day, then sure, that would be the concern. But I don't know. I don't think you can keep it from them either.
Well, I'm fortunate that I was able to raise my kids without, like, they're right on the cusp.
Yeah.
Like, they, my oldest was born in 2001.
Okay.
So there wasn't, he didn't grow up. He got a cell phone, I think, when he was, like, in middle school.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's what we waited for Blake on.
And the social media wasn't really a thing. And but I saw how the next son got one like a year earlier, and the oldest one was like, I didn't get one till this, whatever. And then the third one got one, and it wasn't so much that he wanted it or wanted it. It was more of a necessity because he was being left at places while I was driving the other one. So it was more of a like, hey, let me know when you're out of practice or whatever. So I could see it from that aspect, but now kids, I'm a substitute Spanish teacher.
Oh, okay.
That's so
cool.
So yeah, but I see these kids in school
like this.
and I'm like, put it away. Like, we are doing lesson. And I know in Ohio they just passed some law with the public schools now that they're like putting them away in the classrooms in like they're like a cell phone holder when you walk into the room.
Okay.
They have to put their
I like
phones.
that.
But my youngest, the only one I still have in school, he's in a private school in Ohio, and they just passed this rule this year for school, and they don't like it. The children don't. The kids don't like it. I like it from a parent standpoint, but the minute you walk into school, they check it with the receptionist, the secretary, whatever, and they don't get it back until school's over.
I like that.
If you need to get a hold of your child, then you send a note to the school or an email, a text to the receptionist. She'll get the message to the kid. But the kids don't like it. But it's great because I saw, like, walking into school, like, if I managed his soccer team, so I would walk in sometime and deliver meals or something for the soccer team.
Nice.
And they're all like this, in their free periods, they're at lunch, they're this. They're sitting next to each other, texting each other. Why?
Yeah.
He's right. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Talk to him.
Yeah.
So now they all talk to each other.
Nice.
They go out on the campus and play frisbee or throw footballs or go on the soccer field during your free period or lunch. You're doing stuff. Not everybody on your phone.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's horrible.
Yeah. I agree.
It's horrible.
But yeah, when he went to middle school, we got him the first phone, but then did get one for my daughter too, which I was really worried about. But I was telling somebody else this the other day too, is that, with the right, guidance and even explaining to them how much people are hooked on it. We'll go to a restaurant and I'll be like, look around right now. Like, you can literally see people, instead of talking to each other, they're all, no one's talking to, it's sometimes anybody, right? But, I've been pointing that out to them and, just trying to treat them like adults and respectful and be like, hey, you can use this for the right reasons. And it is nice for the communication aspect if they are at a friend's house or going to a sporting event that, you're not at, to be able to make sure that they're, obviously safe and they can get a hold of you if they need to. But I don't know. I wish we could go back in some aspects to no technology, but I think it's also what's leading to a lot of people's just general unhappiness. Anxiety, yeah.
And depression, comparing yourself to these influencers and this thing, like, I didn't have daughters. So I had 3 sons. They're, the chillest, coolest dudes in the world. Like, they all have my heart.
Nice.
But they, they didn't grow up with the pressures that I see girls having.
She's the one I worry about and I think about the most in that aspect. And, and it's just, I think as she becomes into those like teenage years and you hit the nail on the head, which is the constant comparison.
It's like, oh my God, you're perfect. I know you need to see it in yourself.
Yes. And the way you started out with surfing is subjective, perfect is subjective. Beauty is subjective.
Exactly.
Everything is subjective. perspective. And then a lot of that stuff starts to become, fake too, whether it's filters or, certain things that, people can do in today's day and times. But she's the one I worry about the most when it comes to the influence of technology as she ages. But, she's got a good support structure around and, good friends, and just, she likes, certain aspects of it, but she'll be okay. But I worry about her.
Oh, yeah. You can't not. I mean, I worry about mine. And
Of course.
Two of them are adults and one's soon to be an adult. And I worry about them every day. I'm like, are you making the right decisions? And, But that's part of life, right? I mean, making some good decisions, some bad decisions, right? That's and
how
learning
you figure
from the
things
bad
out.
ones.
Yes. I get the thought of wanting to shield children and protect them and put them in a bubble. You can't.
Because, you need to make mistakes.
Yeah, figure it out. I'm here for guidance. If you want to know what I think about something, I will share that with you, but I didn't realize how influenceable people were until I had children. I mean, you're literally a product. Most people are a product of their environment until they get to a certain age. Maybe they try to escape that environment, or maybe they just keep that environment going down different generations. But it was interesting. Children has been an interesting experiment's a terrible word, but I've learned so much from them about humans in general, which I think is interesting. Now I think about some people where maybe when I was younger, I wouldn't give them the time of day, for whatever reason. But then I'm like, you know what? That was a little girl one day. That was a little boy once. And whatever happened to them got them to why they think they're acting this way. And, maybe that's not all their fault. Trying to be more compassionate, for sure.
Yes,
they helped me with that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then even just with emotions, I've struggled sometimes with the concept of things like love, and even if that's a real thing, I've literally had conversations with people like that. That sounds like something that was made up to, it sounds great, but kids help teach you that, and, certain relationships in life and certain things have helped me realize that that's 100% a real thing. You want the best for them, and it's more tangible than I used to give it credit for back in the day. If that makes sense.
There's the only three people that in the world that I would literally die for are my kids. Literally from a mother's standpoint, oh my God. And when they hurt, I hurt. And I don't think they realize that. And I'm trying to give you advice so that you can do it yourself, but also to try to save you. I've walked in your shoes. I've been there. That kids don't realize the gift of age, maturity, I've been through all this, and if I can instill anything in you, learn from my mistakes, and when I'm telling you stuff, because I'm trying to save you from the pain that I went through,
it that comes back around.
It's exactly.
I can remember being what does my mom know?
Exactly.
I can remember thinking like that, and then later in life, I'd come back to her and be like, you know what, you were right about this. It just took me a little while to accept that, and I don't know what that is, or why that is the case, but I agree. There's some wisdom you can learn from people that have done things before, been there, done that type in both ways. You would in a positive way, but also okay, maybe I wouldn't do it that way, from a negative aspect. But I think, but they're also different than us. The way they're being raised. What they're exposed to is different than what I was exposed to at a child. I've said this on here before, but my daughter came up to me at a park and she goes, "That girl's a furry." And I'm like, how does a 9-year-old know what a furry is? Right. First and foremost.
My son had to explain to me what.
Exactly. There's new things that come out all the time, and the stuff they're exposed to, and what they're going to continue to be exposed to because of technology and the stuff that gets put in front of us, on a regular basis. But it's kind of interesting too, I guess.
If I had a bottle with the genie and I only got one wish, would be well, I'd want a few wishes, but it would be to go back in time and be 18 again and live with the wisdom I have now.
Really?
Oh my God. I look back and I'm like,
you would do things different?
Oh, I would,
Less, I don't know, less what? What would you change? What would you do different?
I would have traveled more.
Okay.
I would have traveled more. Yeah.
Experienced different things.
Yes.
That's what I want for them too. I think about that is sure, I'd love, my son plays football, which I was not happy about, just because, the risks associated to it.
My oldest has had concussion 13, just got. So, I know.
Yeah. He had one at 9. Scared the shit out of me. Still scares the shit out of me to this day. He was 8 when he came to me about playing football. And I was like, trying to explain to an 8-year-old, the future, I was until my 30s to where I really started thinking about the future, right? I still struggle with it some, but I'd love him to stay in Florida and play college here someday if that's what he chooses to do, or whatever his future is going to be. Yeah, somewhere. There's plenty of Florida schools to go to, but I also, and for my daughter too, she talks about going to Paris and going to New York, and I want them to experience and do those things, and if they meet the right person, settle down, do all that stuff, but live some too. I think sometimes people don't do that when they're younger, and then maybe they wish they could have done that. As life goes on. I'm always fearful of regrets. Thinking about being an old man someday and be like, oh, I should have done this or I should have done that. That's why I do things. You got to make the time.
I'm trying to live now without regrets. And take each day, because each day is a gift.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It really is. And it could be taken from you, and things could change quickly, and sometimes you learn that the hard way.
Yes, you do. And and when your kids get older, you'll realize oh my gosh, every phone call from them is because you take it for granted now when they're around you. Your son's in the next room and you take it for granted, but when they're not there anymore, you're like,
that's a good reminder, of not taking this time for granted. We're very fortunate because there's a bunch of us that live here in Central Florida. There's 65 of my family members, right? So we have huge events and stuff like that. So I've always been surrounded by this tribe of family, which has kept us all here very for close, as long as we've been here, and very close. So I've been very fortunate, and sometimes I take it for granted. I definitely have taken that for granted in my life before. But to your point, you got to check yourself every now and then and just enjoy the fact that we're about to go surfing and have lunch, even just the little things that we do every single day, because they are gifts, and
they are.
And one day it won't be. I say that a lot. Sometimes he's not going to want to hang out with me as much as he does now.
And it's just even if they want to, they can't. Once they get out of they have jobs. They can't just take off. They get 1 week vacation a year or something, and maybe they want to do something with their friends or something. Yeah,
I think that's where we went wrong to an extent. I talk about this a lot too. Is I have this love-hate for money.
Yes, exactly. It's a fine line.
You gotta have it. And I think people talk about inflation, and not to get into all that, but you definitely have to have more now, because of the amount more bills that you have, not just the price of everything. There was times where we didn't have power bills, but now you got cell phone bill, internet bill, all kinds of bills that maybe 20, 30, 40, 200 years ago we definitely didn't have. But I think there's a balance. How much time should I be spending to acquire resources?
Yes.
Am I doing this efficiently?
Yep.
But I think there's so many people that is their driving force. Make as much money as possible, and then they lose a lot. I think I would regret that.
Time you cannot get back.
100%.
And it's
the most valuable thing to me is time.
Yep.
And
experiences over this society prioritizes material things.
Yeah.
And it's just not, and I was guilty of it, years ago. And there was a shift about, 10 years ago in my mentality. I'm like, guys, when my kids were younger, after, when they were real young, it was Christmas and gifts. And then, guys, let's go a vacation. And that's how we all ended up spending all of our vacations or our Christmas breaks in Puerto Rico. You know what? I can spend X amount of dollars buying you things, or I can spend that same X amount of dollars and taking you on a trip.
Yeah.
Where we play on the beach every day and we surf and
Did you find them start picking that option?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We would take 1 or 2 gifts in a suitcase, and that's instead of you each getting 10 gifts under a tree, you're getting 1 or 2.
Yeah. And this trip is the gift.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. And I really think any of them, if you ask them, they would say yes. This is Yes,
Nice.
this vacation and trip and spending this time together.
Yes. Yeah.
And
That's where we're at now is, spending more, taking more trips. And again, a lot of stuff we just drive and go do.
Oh,
But we they wanted to fly for the first time, which was great going up to Ohio. You know? But those experiences and getting out and trying different places and, just seeing different things, I think is great for everybody for sure. But there is something to materialism and, just the fact that, I don't know, it's almost like we've been taught this over time. You got to have the next new thing. Like what iPhone number are they on now? 15, 16, 17, something. And people will line up for that. They will line up to get that. I'm going to be guilty
of that because my phone is on its last leg and it's been on its last leg since June.
Yes.
And I'm like, do I buy this one or do I wait for the new one? I'm hoping it's going to last, but then I might just be like, I don't know if I'm going to get the new one or do I want it to last just so that the older model drops in price.
Right.
So I'm like, once the new one comes out, I'm like, oh, well, that means I can get that 15 that's cheaper. So I don't know which one, but I know I need a new one because this thing's crashed twice.
Yes.
And it's been not fun.
Yeah. It can be hectic when you get accustomed to them,
because traveling so much, I do everything via that. I pay bills and,
and communicate to your kids and everybody.
Everything,
Yeah. So there's some benefits to it. But that like capitalistic mindset that, and again, that's gotten us a lot of places in humans, the fact that, we want the next greatest thing and we'll keep paying for it. That's gotten us medicine and technology. And so there's some pros there, but I don't know. I always talk a lot of shit, but I don't have a lot of answers to what I would do differently. But I just think that there's just too much money going around in a lot of different aspects that just, I don't know, somewhere we went wrong with that.
I know.
Somewhere we went wrong. Well, we'll have to solve for the world's problems another day, Shelly.
Where you leave that to our children, right?
You know what I want them to do, and somebody was saying, I don't remember where I heard this the other day, is like, your children should try to make the world a better place. And I'm like, I don't know if that's their job. I don't know. I think I just want them to be happy and like enjoy life and their relationships that they make. And there's some people that care about so many things that they can't control.
Yeah.
And that they'll never be able to control.
I find myself guilty of that. I'm trying, worrying about things, and they're just, my sister's a good person to puts me in check. She's like, Shelly, stop worrying about that. Yeah. You can't change it.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do about it. Just, and I'm like, okay, file that back. And, I'm like, okay.
Easier said than done.
Yes.
Mine always hits me like right as I'm trying to go to bed.
Sleep.
Sometimes.
Yes.
What is that about our stupid monkey brains? No, whatever.
I know.
It just hits me right as I'm about to go to sleep. And then I find myself telling myself, like, especially if it's like work related or something, like, am I going to get up and do anything about it right now? And if the answer is no, then stop thinking about it.
Yep.
But I think ice baths and doing things that I don't want to do has given me more control
over
the way I think about things, for sure.
I would agree.
Yeah, challenging that mind a little bit.
I'm going to try one of those ice baths.
Yeah. Next time you're in town, we could go by Body FX, she's come on here a bunch.
Oh, okay.
She's a great physical therapist, sports medicine people, and they have like 10 of them now in their facility.
Oh my God, goodness.
Yeah. And then they keep them at like 55, which is a good starting point.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. You don't want to jump right in. You could do it, but you'd have to. I would.
That's something to work up to.
Yeah, start in the 50s. It's a perfect place. That's where a lot of my buddies or friends will come over, and like I'll turn it up into the 50s for them. And still, 2 minutes in and then back out. Like, let me get back in there and try it again. It's fun too. It's fun for sure. And having the sauna next to it helps. Heat up real quick. Yeah. Well, cool. This was fun. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks for having me on.
For sure. Thanks for coming
in.
And we'll get out there and catch a couple waves. Hopefully this afternoon.
Looking forward to it. Yep.
It won't be anything special. But
I'm easy to please. Literally,
nice.
Just walking into some warm salt water is.
The hard part will be, since it's a holiday weekend, the quantity of people on the beach will be something to contain with here this afternoon. But we'll sneak in. We'll find a little spot. We'll have some fun.
Sounds good.
Sweet.
Sounds like
thank you.
Let's grab some food and head on out.
Perfect. Thanks. Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
Sweet. Yes.